Hello everyone, this is my third video in relation to this extremely serious matter that has the potential to be affecting everybody in the country. My name is Gary Waterman. I am a former police officer and acting sergeant. Everything I tell you is supported by over 2,000 documents and over 72,000 word statement. That statement is currently with the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and I'm awaiting a response from them in relation to it. I need to emphasise that everything I'm telling you appears to be the case. All the information I have suggests it is the case. However, nothing has been proven in a court of law. So whilst I'm waiting for responses, I thought I'd get some more information out to you, and I thought it would be important to give you some practical advice and information to stop you being defrauded, as appears to be the case with me. So it appears that banks have been producing fake, forged bank documents, and that certainly members within the police and within government appear to be allowing that to happen. Now, those accounts are being then used to file figures through Companies House. It's likely that that's to hide fraudulent transactions or omissions of payments by certain people when they should be making payments. Now, how does that relate to me personally? Well, I'm the shareholder in a freehold company for a block of flats, and we have been employing, like most blocks do, management companies to manage the building. Now, as a former director for that company, I've been removed as a director by shareholders as a result of all of this, because it appears that they are also involved. But when I was a director, I never actually saw the authentic or bank statements in relation to the management of the building and the finances. All I'd seen were typed up figures that had been typed up by the management company. Now, obviously, that means that the figures could have been changed from the bank statements or bank accounts to these documents that I had seen. Okay, so they could have been changed to hide figures. So I started questioning this whilst I was a director. That resulted in the snowball effect of what has happened since, because I was told that I didn't need to see those bank accounts, but I became insistent whilst I was a director. I'm entitled to. So that resulted in directors for the company resigning, and the management company at that time also resigning. So then that led us to having a new management company. Now, that new management company has a limited main company, okay, registered as limited with Companies House. Now, a limited company that registers with Companies House is generally more established and normally earns more money than a sole trade company, okay, and because they're registered with Companies House, public are able to go onto Companies House and check those companies are registered as actual companies, for starters, and also check other details about those companies, who is linked to them, the people linked to them, especially the directors and the secretary, and see their filing history and stuff like that with their accounts. So that's a limited company. But management companies, and especially recently, are able to produce, in our situation recently, they are able to produce offshoot companies from their limited company. They're able to produce sole trading companies. Now, those sole trading companies don't have to register with Companies House. And because they're sole trade companies, they can be closed and they can open new company names up with a different name very quickly and easily. They could close another one and open another one up. Okay? It's very easy for a sole trade company to do that. And difficult to know if they're still trading. Now, obviously, if you've employed a management company under a particular name, okay, and you might have a management agreement, so a signed contract stating how they should manage your building, and they then close this management company, then there's no management agreement in place because the company no longer exists. Now, that means if you have a complaint or there's an issue with the management of the building in relation to that management company, you have no redress, civil redress, and you have no civil protection because the company doesn't even exist and you don't have a management agreement. So that also enables that company to exploit the finances that you're paying into the building. It allows them to not be implicated in any enforcement or compliance of regulations in relation to that building, whether it be fire safety or other regulations, lawful regulations in relation to the building, and that puts people at risk physically. Okay, but if there's no company, there's no civil protection in relation to it. Now, if shareholders for the freehold company or directors allow this to happen and allow the accounts not to be seen, the chances are they're involved somewhere in this exploitation and this fraud. And in my case, I suspect that the fake bank accounts being produced by the bank are being used by shareholders, by management companies, and by probably many people they know in relation to any businesses they're involved with, any other properties they're involved with, to file false accounts through Companies House. Okay, so you can appreciate how huge this could be. And it also allows, in my case, it appears, because I've got the accounts, I've got a set of authentic bank accounts that was used to manage everybody's leaseholders' contributions. I've got 7 years of those accounts. I still have them, and that shows, if you look at what the money's coming in and the money going out, you can work out how many service charge contributions from everybody has not been being paid. It's very complicated, and I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. But in my case, I've been paying all of my service charges to manage the building into this account. But when I've looked at the accounts, I've established that it appears to be over £167,000 since 2015. There appears to be over £167,000 worth of service charge contributions missing, okay, or are untraceable. That means I've been paying mine in, others appear not to have been, which means I've been paying more in to maintain the services of the building. Now that's unlawful, okay? They should still be paying their service charges in. Everybody should be. Everybody who has a flat, owns a flat, whether they're a leaseholder, a shareholder, a director, they should all be paying their contributions in to manage the building. People that aren't doing that deliberately, because of their position, are committing fraud, okay, unless there's a genuine reason that is documented and they're being given permission that is transparent to allow them to do that. But there should still be a payment process in place to ensure they pay the same amount as everyone else. I think I've explained that okay. So also what appears to have been happening, which I've established, and there are documents suggesting this, is that these sole trade management companies are being allowed to advertise on certain websites with certain companies under their previously trading name that no longer exists. So what does that mean? Well, it means people are looking for a management company, they're going on these websites, they're seeing the management company, and they're employing that management company under a name that potentially doesn't even exist. And therefore there is no civil redress, no civil protection, enabling exploitation and fraud to be carried out. Now, I recently queried this in relation to my situation with one of these advertising websites, and they immediately changed the company name to the actual name that this was still a sole trading name, so it's still not secure, but they were actually advertising it as the old name, and they changed it as soon as I queried it into the new company name. Now, for months, that they've been advertising that under the fake name for months, under the previous company name. Several people could have employed that same company under that name, and therefore they have no civil redress. I'm trying not to waffle. I'm trying to make it sort of as clear as I can. So, in relation to that, so I'm just going to get some notes up to help me remember some information for you. So I hadn't, just to summarise, I hadn't been shown the actual bank statements. I queried it. People started resigning as a result. Okay, you know the difference now between limited companies and sole trading companies. I've explained to you how this relates to the management of buildings. I will just explain a little bit. So if you're a leaseholder but not a share of the freehold, then you have no obviously share of this company that I was part of. Okay, so you're more easily exploited as a leaseholder. So so if there is no manager, if there's a management company that is trading as a sole trader and they close their company and there's no management agreement in force in relation to a trading company, they should not and have not formally been instructed to collect money into an account that you are being asked to pay into. Okay, now this is what's happening in my case. They have been requesting my contributions to the building into an account for a company, and under a management agreement instruction with them being managed apparently, but the company didn't seem to exist. So they have no legal right, and therefore they cannot enforce that payment because the company doesn't exist. Okay. Now, also what's happening is these management companies are being, in my case anyway, they are being the only signatory for any accounts in relation to the building. Well, that's what I've been told. It's possible the shareholders were signatories. I suspect that would have been the case, but I was told that only the management companies were the signatories for the accounts. Now, what does that mean if they're the only signatory? Well, if they're the only signatory for an account, it means they can authorise any transaction in relation to that account by themselves. They could effectively take all of the money in that account, exploit it, or take it and just go, and it's gone, and there is no civil redress in relation to that. Now, as a director for my company, I tried insisting that we have multiple signatories, so that if the amount in a transaction was over a certain amount, it required other interested parties to look at that transaction and say, well, yes, I'm happy that's not a fraudulent transaction, let's authorise it, or not if they were not happy with it. I tried to put that in place. Other people within my company later refused or stopped that from happening. Okay, now that would suggest that they're involved somehow in relation to this fraud, whether it be in relation to the forged bank documents or in relation to this specific account and them being involved in the exploitation and fraud. There's no reason they should have prevented that. So what I also tried to do was ensure that there was a transparent bank account in relation to that. So not only did I want to ensure that everybody saw the bank accounts in terms of the documentary elements of those bank statements, but you can or you do have the facility for multiple people, whether they're leaseholders or shareholders, to actually view those bank accounts online, and view those live. That way you have complete transparency in relation to those accounts, and as long as you have all leaseholders or every owner within that building agreeing to that, and there's no reason they shouldn't, why wouldn't someone want that in place? Because it shows the money coming in, it shows where that money is being spent in relation to that building. You're almost guaranteeing there was much less likely to be fraud, isn't there, or exploitation, because it's completely transparent. So I tried applying this to our situation, and of course, as I've said, certain people within the company refused to do that, and there's only one reason why you refuse to do that. So I've talked a lot. It's a lot to take in, but how can you practically stop this happening to you? Well, if you're thinking of buying a property that is a leasehold or a share of freehold, make sure there is a management agreement in place. If there is a management company, make sure that is a signed management agreement, and check it and look at how they're managing the building. Okay, check it's signed and who it's signed by, and make sure, this is important, I would make sure that is not a sole trader management company name on that management agreement. Make sure it is a limited company. Okay, and then what you can do is check Companies House records, to go to Companies House and check that that limited company actually does exist and is registered as a limited company with Companies House. That way they are much less likely to be involved in defrauding you or exploiting your finances, and they will very likely manage the building a lot better than they are. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. You could also insist that there is a transparent accounting and banking system in relation to the building. So you could have something in writing where the management agreement agree that you could either view the bank account directly, or you can be provided documents of the authentic bank documents, and we'll come to that in a minute, in relation to the management of the building. Now obviously they may not have, there may be forged bank accounts, but there are certain things you can look for to determine that, which I will explain in my next video, and in relation to that, how it's happened to me. And get all of this in writing before you move into the building, and that way you're securing the reassurance that you're not going to be defrauded or exploited, as appears to have been the case with me. I think I've covered everything as best as I can. If you've got any questions, because it is so complex, please feel free to message me and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. I will be doing some other videos soon in relation to what's been happening. Take care. God bless. Thank you for listening, and take care. Bye.